Well, good morning, everybody. Grace and peace to you from our Lord Jesus Christ and all the saints here in Central California. This morning I thought I'd take you through one of the things I'm doing on I have a project. It's a wireless migration project. What the heck does that mean? Um, so we have a wireless network here. I'm in charge of that as well, obviously. And the controllers that manage all those wireless access points are no longer going to be supported here very soon. So we're trying to be proactive, get ahead of that curve, and implement some new wireless controllers that are supported by Extreme. So excuse me. So what we're doing is we've got the new controller set up. We've duplicated all the wireless networks over there. And I'll take you through what that looks like. But first, what I'm going to do right now is take you through migrating an access point from one controller to the other. So I'm going to share my screen here. Which one do I want to? I'll just share the whole thing. That one. Boom. Okay. So what hopefully you're looking at is my old wireless controller, and I've been logged onto it all night long. So let me relog into it. So this is what a wireless controller looks like. So hanging off of this one right now, we've got about 200 wireless access points. And those access points are everywhere from our main hospital to our old hospital to the engineering portion of the campus to remote clinics. I mean, they're all over the place, scattered all over the county. And there's 200 of them. And somehow we've got to get those 200 over onto the new controller. Now you see here where it says 42, this red arrow pointing down means that they're down. Down arrow, down. I get it. I see what they're doing with that. Those have already been migrated, and a few of those might actually be down, but maybe like 2. But so at least 40 have already been migrated. So that's why they're showing down on this controller. So yeah, we're migrating those APs over, and what we do is first I'm going to make sure the ones I want to migrate aren't being used, and they shouldn't be because there's nobody. I'm going to pick a clinic. There should be nobody in the clinics right now. So what I'm going to do first is change my glasses because I can't read with those. Sorry. There we go. Now I can got my reading glasses on. I can see again. So what I'm going to do is I can go to this reports menu and check by AP how many clients we have. There's random sampling of all the APs. It looks like one's missing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that back out. We have 2 wireless controllers. Actually, we have 4 right now, but we have 2 old controllers, 2 new controllers. And the APs can be managed by either one of them. So what I'm going to do is log into the old controller. Yep. I know it's unsafe. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to move all the APs over to the other controller. You'll see where it says active. That means that this controller is actively managing that AP. If I go over here and look at the APs, and we're working with the neurology clinic this morning, and I prefaced that with NC. So you can see one is active, one is inactive. That means that guy is being controlled by the other controller. Where'd he go? Let's do this, NC. NC dash, there we go. So you see one is active. This is the secondary controller, means he's controlling this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this and I'm going to say release. And what release does is this controller is going to release control and he's going to go back over and be controlled by the other controller. And the reason we have two is not so much for load balancing as it is just for if you need to upgrade software on one, you're not going to lose any controllability of the APs. And that's mostly just used for authentication. So now I'm just going to swap over here real quick. Go back to APs and then say neurology clinic. And there they both show as active now. So they're both on this controller, which is good. Because this report function where I say, hey, show me all the clients on these APs, it'll only show me the APs that are on this controller. So now we can see Neurology Clinic 100 and 101, there are 0 clients. So we are going to migrate those. And the way we migrate those is we go over here, back to the AP menu, and I'm going to say Neurology Clinic. I'm going to select both of these guys, and I can either go into them one at a time and make this adjustment, but Extreme has a feature called multi-edit. And you can just all in one shot edit a lot of the settings. You can set radio modes and the different settings on the radios, a lot of which I don't mess with. I leave most things at the defaults. But this EWC, Extreme Wireless Controller search list, this is what we want to do. We want to tell it what controllers that it should look for when it reboots to give it its information. So I'm going to reconfigure the search list, and I just basically need to tell it what the IP addresses of its new controllers are. Since I'm lazy, I like to do copy and paste. So we're going to come down here and say, this is your new primary controller, and this is your new secondary controller. And as soon as I do that, it should start showing up on the new controller. However, not all the information transfers over, and I'll show you that. So I'm going to click apply. And now we'll go over to the new controller. I'm going to log in. Okay, this is what the new controller looks like. It's a little different. The old controller has, you know, kind of your classic, you know, drop-down menus and, you know, sidebar. You know, that was really cool back in the day. I'm going to get back over here so I can get my information off of those. Because they're not going to show up with these names, they're going to show up with the serial numbers. So I have to reset the names and tell it the location and all that good stuff. So I'm going to go to the hamburger menu, as I call it, and other people call it. We're going to go to configure, the devices, access points, and somewhere in here, there they are. In-service trouble. That's the first time I've seen that. Oh, I have to add this to a device group. Okay, which I have to figure out. So let's go here. Let's go to assign. And the site I'm going to assign it to that I've already created ahead of time is Neurology Clinic. And there's the device group I want it to be in. Okay, now it's happy. So one of the things I have to do is, well, let me do that to the other one too, real quick. And you see the little green dot says it's good. So let's go over here and assign this guy to the Neurology Clinic. And I'm not going to go into all this, you know, what is a site and device groups and all that. just yet because on the new controller, I'm still learning all this. Basically, if the APs come up, let me move my picture there. If the APs come up here at the main campus, they'll automatically be assigned to a site because of some rules we've set up. This one is not here at the main campus, so it's showing up on it doesn't know what site to assign it to automatically because it doesn't match any of the rules we've already set up. So, okay, so now I've got to go down here and figure out which one's which. So I'll start with the top one, 58. Which one were you? So 58 was NC 100. So let's go over here. And I'm going to rename this guy NC-100. He is at the neurology clinic. And I'm going to save that. Okay, go back to the device list. And go over here to this guy. He's going to be NC-101, I believe. I do believe. And we'll say again, neurology clinic. And save. Okay, those APs have been migrated over, but we're not done. So if you look at the AP version of some of these other ones, 10.5.1.2.4, whoops, 10.5.1.1.9. That's no good. And let me turn refresh. Well, no, I'll just refresh this way. So this guy went offline for some reason. He might be upgrading. I am not sure. I'll have to dig into that. So since he just went brain dead, we'll work with this one. I'll have to figure out what happened there. So what I'm going to do with this one that's working, I am going to upgrade the image to, that's the only option I have right now, 10.5.1.2.4. So I'm going to say okay. So if I click refresh, this green dot should turn blue, meaning that it's in an upgrade cycle. In a minute. So, oh, they may be rebooting because I changed the name. All right, let's do this one then. Select that one and do image upgrade. Okay. Okay. Let's give it a few seconds. There you go. Actually, see, now they're both upgrading. So yeah, it rebooted because I changed the names on those because I was not patient and waited. Patience is a virtue. So anyway, you can see I have a couple of other APs that are down. This Benton Hall 103 is down. I'll have to investigate that one. This one is down because it's a replacement for an AP that's down. Oddly enough, we have two APs down in Benton Hall. Wonder what the heck's going on over there. So up there, it's back. I don't know what it did. So yeah, these guys will upgrade. While those are upgrading, I'll tell you a funny story. We have these sonogram carts. You take sonogram images of babies, sonogram images of people's hearts. They're advanced hearts. They take video, or advanced machines. They take video. Really whiz-bang devices. The way they've been having to upload those images to our computer systems is they'd have to physically plug it into an Ethernet jack, and there isn't always an Ethernet jack available where they are, or it's behind the patient's bed and they can't get to it. So the cardiology department came to me and said, hey, can you can you convert these machines over to wireless? I said, well, I don't know. Do the machines support wireless? And they said, oh, yeah, they do, but we just don't know how to do it. I said, okay, let's go over and we'll convert one and see what happens. So I went over and I set one up on the wireless network that I wanted it to be on, and it worked. They could download their work lists, which it would give them a list of patients that they were supposed to do ultrasounds on that day. And then once they did them, it would upload all the images that they took into the patient's record on the servers. And okay, cool, great. Well, for the babies, when they do images of babies, we have a partnership with UCSF, San Francisco, and they look at those baby images because they have more specialized doctors than we have. So when they upload those baby images, it doesn't go to our servers. It goes out across a VPN to UCSF. Well, that wasn't working. When they were on wireless, when they plugged into wired, it would work. Like, I don't know why that would be, because I had to go into the firewall and update some rules, and it should have worked. So I backed the rules back out. And then he tells me, well, now we can't upload to UCSF from either plugged into the wired network or over wireless. I'm thinking, oh, great. So, okay, well, we'll troubleshoot this. Yeah, I'll come in first thing in the morning and we'll test it out. And said, okay, great. We don't have any images to send right now, so that's great. So I'm asking him to send again, and he goes, no, it keeps failing. So I went over there and looked, and sure, so he sent one right there in my presence, and I'm watching it on the firewall. I can see all the data transferring. It sent over like 975 megabytes of data up to UCSF, but the status would come back failed. It would just say transfer failed. Like, man, I don't know. I can see it going across. Can you call somebody at their helpline and see if we can talk to somebody in their IT group? He goes, okay, yeah, they're out to lunch right now, but I'll call them after lunch. So after lunch, I call him back and say, hey, what'd you find out? He goes, oh, well, they told us that if we try to transfer up an image that's already been transferred, which is what they were doing to test for me, they were resending. If we try to transfer up an image that's already been transferred, it'll fail because we've already done it. So I said, so wait, it just tells you error. It doesn't tell you like duplicate or anything. No. It just says it failed. Oh, okay. UCSF, can you please fix that? So I basically wasted about 4 hours of work trying to figure this out, and it was basically working as designed. So they waited until they had a new image to send up, and they sent that. They didn't even test wired. They sent it over wireless, and it worked. So bottom line, don't always trust what your users say. Although he was going with the best information he had, but sometimes you can't even trust the machine. So anyway, that's that story. And that happened yesterday. And boy, I had been praying about that all night long to have God help me come up with the answer. And yeah, the answer was it wasn't broken in the first place. So anyway, okay, so now you can see down here, hopefully you can see, I don't know how tiny this looks to you guys, but you can see now that the image has been upgraded. So that's the two APs. They have been upgraded. So, and I'll give you just a real quick rundown of how these wireless things work. So these are all the access points, all these cryptic letters and numbers. ENG is engineering. CNT is a canteen. It's an old building across the street. We got accounting. We got graduate medical education. We got our dietary folks. So those are all APs that are out there all over the place. And how does this work? So when a user wants to get on wireless, they've got one of two ways to join. They can join either via certificate, 802.1x authentication, or some of these are WPA with a pre-shared key. So once you, so what we do is we have many networks. we shouldn't. But we've got several wireless LANs here. And what we do is we'll set up the wireless LAN. We'll tell it, give it the information like what the SSID is, whether it's hidden SSID or not, and what VLAN we want that SSID to be in. And of course, the pre-shared key and or the 802.1x information, whatever, we will set that up in these things. And then the user will try to connect. The AP who has been given all this information by the wireless controller, and all this stuff eventually gets sent down to the AP, so it's making this decision. So they'll try to connect. They say, I want to join SJGH WOW. That particular one, they need a certificate. So the client will present its certificate. It'll come up here to the wireless controller. It'll check to make sure the certificate's valid. If it will, it'll tell the AP access is granted. At that point, all the traffic is just between the client and the AP and the network. It's a topology we call bridged at AP. So once they're authenticated, all the data just goes straight from the wireless client to the AP and then right into the switch on the network. It doesn't come back to the controller after that. They only talk to the controller for initial authentication, whether it's pre-shared key, 802.1x, that's the only time the client talks to the controller. Once they're authenticated, the controller could actually go offline and they would stay connected because the AP's already verified that they're allowed to be on. The only exception to that is our guest access rule. That's a topology we call bridged at controller. So if you join our guest network, you're going to be given a 192.168, which is unroutable on my network. It won't go anywhere. We don't have any layer 3s set up for it within the network. There's no routing within the network for it. So they have to go straight to the wireless controller, and then from the wireless controller, it goes straight to our internet and out. It doesn't ever touch our network. And it's also set up in a tunnel, so it's just tunneled straight to the controller. And so that will work. If our wireless controllers go down, then guest is dead in the water. But everybody else will continue working. All the employees will continue working, all the medical devices, that kind of stuff. But new people won't be able to come onto the network until the controller's back up. So, but that's why we have two, so we can work on them one at a time. And yeah, works out pretty good. So anyway, yeah, that's basically wireless in a nutshell, and that's how we upgrade APs in a nutshell. So as always, if you found that interesting or informative, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any prayer requests, let me know. And if you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and keep those wonderful comments coming. Love reading those. And I get busy. I can only answer them about once a week, but I will answer every pertinent comment. You know, if you're going to yell at me about mentioning God or Jesus in the videos, I'm not going to answer that. So it's my video. I can love Jesus if I want. So anyway, and all you Christian brothers and sisters out there, God bless, and everybody else out there, God bless, and we'll see you all next week. Let me stop this and say goodbye. We'll catch you later.